Austin Theory and WWE are sent a cease and desist letter over Theory's new nickname being used on WWE television. We've got details on that. Plus, Roxanne Perez collapses during last night's NXT Roadblock special. We've got an update on that storyline and all of the details surrounding it. Johnny Gargano has made his NXT return. He will also be wrestling at NXT Stand and Deliver during WrestleMania weekend. Speaking of Stand and Deliver, the NXT Championship match has been made official for the event too. Also details on who was the producer for the John Cena Austin Theory segment this past Monday night on Raw. Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul is official for WrestleMania, and we have confirmation on which night the match will take place. Dragon Lee makes his WWE debut last night on the NXT Roadblock special. Liv Morgan goes viral sitting courtside at a New York Knicks games ahead of WWE's appearance at Madison Square Garden. A WWE spot was nixed this past Monday night on Raw due to a similarity to a recent AEW controversy, and WWE 2K23 comes out later this month, and more details have been revealed on the My General Manager mode. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking about Austin Theory possibly being sued ahead of his big WrestleMania match against John Cena. Now, an independent tag team has sent two, not one, but two cease and desist letters to WWE over United States champion Austin Theory's new nickname. Theory has been referring to himself as the Now for several months following his failed Money in the Bank cash-in and character shift last year under the Paul Triple H Levesque regime. However, independent wrestlers Vic Dalicious and Hale Collins have been teaming under the name The Now since 2006, with them owning the trademark for the name. Vic recently spoke with the Hudson Valley Post, noting that the team have sent two cease and desists to WWE, and their next step is to file a lawsuit for trademark infringement. He said, quote, "My initial reaction was shock because of the fact that we have had it copyrighted since 2006, and there's many people in WWE who know Hale and I, know our names, and know we own it. After shock goes away, we decided to reach out. We consulted with some friends who knew about the situation professionally, and we were guided to an awesome lawyer named Mike Dockings, the gimmick attorney who specializes in trademarks." Of course, that's the same attorney that's got trademarks for several stars outside of WWE. Usually after they get released or leave or their contract expires, they go to Mike Dockings and he gets a lot of their names trademarked or new names trademarked and that kind of stuff. Now, it continues by saying, quote, "We have sent two cease and desist letters to WWE. They acknowledged one and said they would look into it. Looking into it doesn't stop it from being on TV. Our next step is a lawsuit for trademark infringement and creating confusion in the marketplace." It's going to be interesting, certainly, if WWE feels that there's a way around this, or if they decide to fight it, or if they decide to drop it, especially as we get closer to WrestleMania. Now, last night was the NXT Roadblock special, and it ended in a very controversial and, I guess, eye-opening manner. Not so eye-opening for Roxanne Perez, though. To close last night's NXT Roadblock special, an NXT champion appeared to be taken to their limit to the point of needing medical attention. On the NXT special, NXT Roadblock, there were several big matches, and the main event saw an NXT champion being taken away in an ambulance to close the show. Dijak took on Tony D'Angelo in a jailhouse street fight, which, of course, can be seen during the program. There was also verbal exchanges between the likes of Gallus and Pretty Deadly. There was NXT title matches being made as well. There was grudge matches and all that kind of stuff. It certainly was an eventful episode of NXT. But in the Roadblock main event, Roxanne Perez retained her NXT Women's Championship over Meiko Satomura, with the legend showing respect to the Prodigy after the big match. Mid-celebration, Roxanne Perez seemingly collapsed while referees ran out to attend to her. Medical staff joined them as well. Roxanne was eventually loaded onto a stretcher and taken away in an ambulance after Shawn Michaels also came out to ringside to accompany her to the back. Now, there were people that were concerned about the situation. It certainly appeared to be storyline related, however, and we've got some more details on that. But they certainly shot it and they certainly played it off as if it was serious. You had the likes of Booker T getting up and off of commentary. Of course, we know his relationship with Roxanne Perez. He was the person that trained her at the Reality of Wrestling promotion and school there in Houston, Texas. Again, it was very much a Shawn Michaels segment. It was reminiscent of the kind of concussion angle that he did with Owen Hart back in the early 1990s, where where Owen Hart did the enziguri to the back of Shawn Michaels' head, and they kind of stopped everything. People rushed into the ring to check on him. It was kind of breaking that fourth wall kind of situation. It was almost a rehash of that angle, not like for like, but certainly similar. It had Shawn Michaels' fingerprints all over it. Now, WWE has provided an update on Roxanne Perez after she collapsed in the ring as to close the March 7 NXT Roadblock show. As I mentioned, Perez had just retained the NXT Women's Championship over Meiko Satomura in the main event of the show when she collapsed and was stretchered out of the arena and taken away in an ambulance. The incident was an angle based on the idea that Satomura was trying to push Perez to work hard both during and in the lead up to their match, almost as a mentor of sorts, actually ended up overworking her. After the show went off the air, the official NXT Twitter page posted both an exclusive follow-up clip and then a short update on Perez's condition. They said that she had to leave the arena in an ambulance. A short while after that, the page tweeted, quote, Roxanne Perez will be kept overnight in the hospital for observation and continued testing. Now, of course, we'll keep you informed if there are any more updates, but the way it played out was all part of the show and not a real-life incident. Perez looks to be on her way and to be on course to defending her championship against Tiffany Stratton at NXT Stand and Deliver in Los Angeles on April 1st, the afternoon before the first night of WrestleMania 39. So those that were worried that, was this real? If it was real, they wouldn't shoot it. And that's kind of how it happens in pro wrestling. So Roxanne Perez is fine. Johnny Gargano is back in NXT as well. On last night's NXT Roadblock, the Grayson Waller effect featured Shawn Michaels after weeks of bad blood between the pair. With Grayson Waller sitting down with HBK, Waller came in hot with an immediate Bret Hart reference, noting he would have told his childhood self to be a Bret Hart guy, not a Shawn guy. Evoking the name of Vince McMahon, he reminded Michaels that Vince had held him back, going farther to say, "Now you're Vince," to Shawn Michaels, saying he's holding him back. Going on to challenge Michaels to a match at Stand and Deliver, Waller seemed to be goading him into acceptance. However, instead, HBK introduced someone else who bleeds NXT and had a score to settle with Waller. And out came Johnny Wrestling himself, Johnny Gargano. Gargano was back in NXT to deliver a receipt over a year in the making to Grayson Waller. And certainly that match is now scheduled for the NXT Stand and Deliver special during WrestleMania weekend. Now, Gargano himself has taken to Twitter after he made his return to NXT during last night's March 7 Roadblock special edition of the show. As I mentioned, it was a huge return for arguably one of the people most associated, one of the talents certainly most associated with NXT. Way back in December of 2021, when Gargano's contract expired, Gargano was written out of NXT via an attack from Waller, and they never had a chance to have a match to pay it off until now. After his appearance, Gargano tweeted, quote, 15 months ago, before I was attacked with a steel chair, the last words I said in an NXT ring was that I was going to teach my son to be the best man he could be. To steal a phrase from an old friend, Daddy's home. Of course, that reference being to none other than Tommaso Ciampa. Along with the tweet, Gargano attached a video of his wife, Candice LeRae, and their son, Quill, watching on, which can be seen on social media. Gargano is back in NXT, seemingly just for the match during WrestleMania weekend, but anything's possible with Triple H running the main roster, allegedly, and Shawn Michaels running the developmental brand. Speaking of Stand and Deliver, the NXT Championship match has now been revealed. The opponent for NXT Champion Bron Breakker over WrestleMania weekend at NXT's premium live event Stand and Deliver has indeed been revealed. In a night that also saw the shock return of Johnny Gargano to NXT to face off against Grayson Waller, another big match was added to the card. In an in-ring segment confirming the much speculated about matchup, Bron Breakker called out Carmelo Hayes as the two came face to face. The match was indeed set for Stand and Deliver for the NXT Championship, and it's going to be interesting as both men have been rumored to be called up to the main roster after WrestleMania. I'm switching gears here back to the main roster. Speaking of the main roster, I guess, John Cena versus Austin Theory, of course, was a huge talking point coming out of Raw this past Monday. Cena returned in Boston to set up a match with Theory for the United States Championship at WrestleMania 39, with Cena's promo on Theory causing a lot of commotion. Some fans are on the side that Cena went too far and it was almost a complete burial of Theory, while others actually saw it as the complete opposite and that it elevated the current US champion just by being in the same space as the former 16-time World Heavyweight Champion. Whichever way you look at it, there's an interesting note that's emerged about how it went down. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select posted a list of the producers assigned to each match and segment on Raw, and specifically noted there was no producer listed for the Cena/Theory segment. This likely just means that the segment was left in the hands of Cena and Theory, obviously mostly Cena, you'd think, with the idea that he'd be coming up with his own stuff and wouldn't need to be produced, which again is quite interesting because this isn't the first time this has happened recently either, as a couple of the recent Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes segments haven't had producers either, again because they're seemingly trusted to produce themselves. There was also no producer listed for the Bobby Lashley segment on Raw, but of course that was only a 30-second backstage promo, but interesting, I guess, to a point that Cena just does what Cena wants to do. Now, speaking of Cena too, he had a touching moment with the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes during the same episode of Raw. After the segment with Theory, Cena introduced Cody Rhodes and the two men shared a hug on the stage as Cena endorsed the American Nightmare. Cody took to Twitter to react to the segment, sharing a photo of the two, as well as a caption seemingly of what Cena whispered into his ear: "Reward their noise every time. Thank you, John Cena, #WrestleMania." So Cody, I guess, revealing what Cena said to him. Now, speaking of Cody as well, he made his return at the Royal Rumble, didn't he? And there was some controversy because AEW star Absolute Ricky Starks accompanied Cody to the Rumble. Now, while Starks didn't appear on camera or anything like that, a CCTV, yes, security camera footage was leaked onto social media of Starks accompanying Rhodes to the event. Cody spoke about the photo on the Out of Character podcast with Ryan Satin, noting that he takes full blame for the photo circulating. He said, quote, "I'll take full blame, my fault. It was a friend coming to see me in a very big, truly emotional moment. To lose your confidence as an athlete, a fighter, and entertainer, to get back up off the mat, not just to get back up, you have to be at the level you were. I liked having people in my circle around me. I think also that will be the only time anyone from another company is ever present because it creates conversation that is not accurate. It creates an outlook. This is my friend. He wanted to be there to support me. He should have stayed on his butt in the bus, but he did not. And because of that, no friends at work anymore. I'll make some new friends at WWE so there's not random surveillance photos of them and I walking backstage. You know, you're pretty popular when people are making a story out of that. So I guess good for the Rick man." Basically saying it was much ado about nothing, which of course it was. And again, I'm glad that nobody got punished because it was nonsense. Now, one of the matches confirmed for WrestleMania this past Monday night on Raw was Seth freaking Rollins versus Logan Paul. And Logan Paul appears to have revealed which night of WrestleMania 39 his match against Seth Rollins will be taking place. Paul appeared on this past Monday's edition of Raw to make official the match that has been teased ever since Paul eliminated Rollins from the Royal Rumble in January and then cost him the United States Championship in the Elimination Chamber match the following month. On his Impulsive podcast, Paul seemingly confirmed the match will be taking place on the first night of WrestleMania 39, that being April 1st. He said, quote, "Yeah, me versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. It's going down. It's official. It's going down. I got confirmation. Me versus Seth Rollins. He's been beefing with me. WrestleMania April 1st in Los Angeles on my birthday. He's very good at what he does. He's very good at what he does. He's probably top 3 in the business right now, and for that reason, it'd be an honor to take him on at WrestleMania. I'm really happy with this matchup." Now, as of December, Paul was actually penciled in for a match against John Cena, but WWE decided to go in the direction of Paul versus Rollins and Cena versus Theory. Now, WWE hasn't actually officially confirmed which night of Mania any of the matches will be taking place, though the obvious one, that Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, that's going to be taking place on night 2. As far as every other match, it really hasn't been confirmed as of right now, but when it comes to Rollins and Theory, Rollins and Paul continuing their feud, when is Logan Paul going to be back on WrestleMania? Obviously, with Logan Paul being a very busy man, it was unknown when he would next appear on Raw to build his match at WrestleMania against Rollins. Per PW Insider, Paul is being locally advertised for the March 20 episode of Monday Night Raw in St. Louis, Missouri. The match with Seth Rollins will only be Logan Paul's 3rd singles match in his WWE career. Of course, he's made his in-ring debut last year at WrestleMania, where he teamed with The Miz to defeat Rey and Dominic Mysterio in tag team action. He returned to the ring, as I mentioned, at the Royal Rumble, and that match is seemingly going to be taking place on April 1st. But we also know when Paul is going to be back on WWE television too. Switching gears back to NXT, and Dragon Lee has made his NXT debut, at least on camera. Dragon Lee has not only signed with WWE, he is officially in NXT, and he made his debut appearance last night. Dragon Lee was shown in the crowd ahead of the big six-man tag team match between the Creed brothers and Bron Breakker and Indus Sher and Jinder Mahal. And it was quite interesting because, of course, many thought Dragon Lee was going to be facing Grayson Waller at NXT Stand and Deliver, but that's not the case. It's going to be Johnny Gargano, but Dragon Lee, for the first time, has appeared on WWE television. Now, a funny story that actually happened overnight was Liv Morgan went viral, but for quite an odd reason that had nothing to do with professional wrestling. Liv Morgan has had a viral moment yesterday evening as she was spotted at the New York Knicks game, and wow, the internet had quite a few jokes about it. The jokes kicked off when a clip of Morgan being on camera while the announcer discussed the upcoming Road to WrestleMania event at Madison Square Garden began floating around. The viral part, however, comes into play when the exact moments that Liv was being filmed, she also happened to be mid-conversation that was, shall we say, less than stimulating, or at least was captured during a dull moment. It was a little difficult to make out exactly what was being said from the person on her right, although it seems as though something about why the seats close to the floor are cold, which would make sense since Madison Square Garden hosts both the New York Knicks and the New York Rangers. Nevertheless, it was clear that Liv was perhaps less than engaged as she was spotted fixing her hair and saying yeah twice in the clip, whilst not actually looking at the person who was chatting to her. Liv herself seemed to take the whole situation without offense, instead retweeting several joking posts about the clip and, well, adding her own comment saying you guys, basically. So it is quite funny. It's that meme of, you know, the guy talking to the girl and the girl not really paying any attention. It was basically that, but in real life, and it was quite funny. Now, the My General Manager mode certainly is going to be coming up in the latest WWE 2K video game, and the popular GM mode made its long-awaited return to WWE games last year with WWE's 2K22 release, and that mode has been further expanded upon this year. Xavier Woods and Tyler Breeze gave us a rundown of the mode on a video on Up Up Down Down earlier yesterday, showcasing numerous improvements made to the mode. Fightful has provided a rundown of the new features added to the mode, which includes in WWE 2K22, My GM mode was reintroduced, allowing fans to take control of a brand and be the authority. In 2K23, My GM has been updated to accommodate for 4-player gameplay and more. Brands can now have a mid-card title on their brands. SmackDown will have the Intercontinental Championship. Raw Stars can compete for the United States Championship. For new brands, WCW and NXT 2.0, the WCW Hardcore Championship and NXT North American titles will be available. New match types are included in the My GM mode as well this year. Triple Threat, Fatal 4-Way, Steel Cage, Backstage Brawl, Falls Count Anywhere, Submission, Iron Man, Last Man Standing, and Tornado tag matches are all selectable. In addition to Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon, Adam Pearce, and the option for an edited My GM, Xavier Woods, Tyler Breeze, Kurt Angle, and Eric Bischoff, and Mick Foley are selectable GMs this year. William Regal is no longer selectable. I wonder why. The mode also features seasons, allowing players to continue playing beyond WrestleMania with the aim of reaching the WWE Hall of Fame. So it looks like they've really expanded upon it. There was quite a few criticisms of it being quite simplistic last year, but it looks like we're going to be getting a much more in-depth version this year. Finally, a spot was reportedly nixed on WWE television this week because of AEW. According to a new report from Fightful Select, there was an interesting spot that was listed internally for Raw, but ended up being nixed, with at least one talent theorizing it was due to AEW. After the Revolution main event hosted a controversial moment where MJF threw a drink at a child, a spot was cut from this week's edition of Monday Night Raw. Per the report, there was a segment originally planned where a wrestler would toss a drink in the face of another wrestler during a match. When word spread of the planned spot backstage, some thought it was actually a shot at AEW or the spot with MJF, despite the spot having been in distributed plans since before Revolution. However, as those who watched the show know, the spot did not end up making the air. Interestingly, one talent theorized to Fightful that the spot was removed due to the AEW spot with MJF, even though, again, it was actually planned prior to Revolution, so they wouldn't have known, but they didn't want to be seen to be doing something too similar or making fun or poking fun at something that happened with their competitors. Who knows? But there you go, guys. It's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.